Hello, my name's Hugh, and today I'm here to chat to you about the post-credit scenes for Venom, the new superhero movie that stars Tom Hardy as a man with an alien symbiote in him, causing some havoc. So now, if you haven't seen the film yet, obviously we're going to be delving into some spoilers, so please look away now. But without further ado, I'm going to kick off with the first post-credit scene that pops up about halfway through the film's credits. So the first post-credit scene kind of picks up where the film leaves off. Tom Hardy's journalist character Eddie Brock and his symbiote are off to interview someone, a really big, super secret interview. He goes to San Quentin prison and he's escorted to meet this mysterious inmate. And then we meet him. He's played by Woody Harrelson, he's got this shock of red hair and he's quite a creepy guy. He's writing in his own blood, he's very menacing. And if you don't know too much about the Spider-Man comics that Venom's drawn from, it might not seem like much, but this character is actually super important. His name's Cletus Cassidy. And in the comics, he turns out to be another Spider-Man villain, like Venom is in the comics, called Carnage. Basically, the story is that Venom gives birth to another symbiote who connects to this serial killer, and then the serial killer gets even more serial killy and goes on this massive rampage. Rather than being called Venom, he's called Carnage, and he's basically even more powerful than Venom and Spider-Man combined, and they have to team up to stop him. And in this scene, obviously, Woody Harrelson's version of the character isn't some sort of big supervillain yet, but he does hint at his future because he says, "When I get out of here, and I will, it's going to be carnage." And you kind of see what they were going for there. Basically, the reason this is tacked on is probably because Sony, who made Venom, want to do more Venom films, and the obvious sequel is another evil symbiote. Obviously, Sony and Spider-Man don't quite mix anymore, so we probably wouldn't see Spider-Man in the sequel, but that's as maybe. Anyway, it looks like they're going to have Woody Harrelson playing Carnage in a Spider-Man spin-off, whether that's a Venom sequel or a Carnage solo film, we don't know. But it's very exciting. And so I'll move swiftly on to the second post-credit scene, which you have to wait all the way to the end of the credits to see. Now, this one's a bit different. It doesn't actually relate to Venom at all. Basically, it starts off with saying, "Meanwhile, in another universe," and then we jump right in with a clip for the animated Spider-Man film Into the Spider-Verse. Now, if you don't know, this film takes quite a different tack on the character. Basically, it's animated, as I mentioned, and it features Peter Parker's successor as Spider-Man, Miles Morales, in a parallel universe to the main Marvel universe and the Venom universe. And basically, the story is that loads of different Spider-Men from loads of different dimensions turn up to fight this one foe. And Miles is one of them, and the Peter Parker Spider-Man we know is another one. Anyway, in this clip, we don't get too much of that. We basically see Miles running away from this evil villain who we know is called the Prowler. He's a character from the comics, and he's basically a thief with these very cool gadgets. And Miles escapes him, goes to this graveyard, and he sees the grave for Peter Parker. And he starts saying, "I'm sorry, Mr. Parker, I couldn't do what you asked me to," suggesting that in this film, Peter Parker has died and passed on the mantle to Miles, which is kind of how Miles gets the job in the comics this is based on. If this gets very confusing, so I'm going to keep it simple, but basically you can do a bit of outside reading if you want to know more about Miles and how he got to be Spider-Man. Then in this post-credit scene, Peter comes along, the other universe Peter, I told you it was complicated, and Miles freaks out, knocks him out, and then has to get him away from the cops. He sort of throws him on his shoulder, tries to web swing away, and has all sorts of misadventures. Crashing into a train, sliding on some windows, they whack into the floor a few times. It doesn't go well. And it's a really fun scene, and it doesn't connect to Venom at all, but it does advertise Sony's next kind of superhero film, which is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which comes out later this year. So that's pretty much all we have to say about that one. So yeah, the first post-credit scene teases more Venom sequels with Carnage, Woody Harrelson hopefully playing that character, and the second post-credit scene just teases the film that's out in December, which is an animated Spider-Man spin-off. There's no more, so if you wanted to wait for longer, there's no point. But yeah, either way, it looks like there's lots of things coming up in the Spider-Man movie world that are worth looking for. So I've been Hugh Fullerton. Those are the Venom post-credit scenes, and thanks for watching.